I am curious about where sort of the fuel is going to come for the next leg of this, I guess we can call it chip/AI trade. Where's that come from?
Yeah, it's a really good point because, it's been a difficult start to 2025. We've seen that reflected in share prices, which across the board have struggled since the start of the year. So, I think we're very much getting to this stage where the markets are looking, as you correctly pointed out, that next catalyst. But I think it's also worth bearing in mind that there are several clouds that are just looming over the sector. And I think one of those clouds that we're waiting for a bit more clarity on is what Trump's intending to do as far as export bans are concerned. There are some sort of reports that potentially we could see more export bans to China coming into place potentially this week. I think once we start to get a bit of a clearer picture of how the Trump administration is looking to position itself as far as the chip sector is concerned, I think that could help at least stem concerns that have been weighing on the sector. And I think the other thing is that we just also need to get a little bit more clarity, I think, over the outlook for sort of reduced costs as far as AI is concerned. Obviously, we've had earnings season, we've learned a lot, we know that spending is still high, but I think the whole DeepSeek disruption just sowed a seed of doubt, which I don't feel has been removed yet. So I think we just need a little bit more clarification as to what the outlook is as far as sort of being able to reduce spending on AI and CapEx spending is concerned.
Fiona, to your point about what Trump's policies mean for the semiconductor sector, there is some concern that tariffs or other policies could eventually lead to price increases in the space. There's been some debate about how much of an effect that would actually have on companies' ability to offer them at a price that's still appealing to their customers. Where do you land on that? Is that something that you're watching as a potential detractor to the space going forward?
Yes, I think that's a really good point. We do obviously need to consider when we're talking about trade tariffs, we also need to consider about what that means for pricing and potential inflationary pressures that might cause in those pricing. And obviously, there are going to be ceilings and limits that, prices may potentially reach where customers say, well, actually, at that level, it's too high. We're going to rein in our orders. So I think that's something that we need to watch very carefully. But obviously, on the back of that, we also know that there is obviously a huge importance based on tech, based on AI, based on chips. And so, that they are very much continue to be the future of sort of, where the world is going. So we need to keep that in mind when we think about, at what level are companies going to say that's too far, that's too high for us right now. So whilst we will be keeping an eye on it, I don't think it's necessarily right now at a point which is causing concern, but it potentially could do in the future if we find that those tariffs do have inflationary impacts.
Are you comfortable, though, Fiona, when you look at the valuations in the market for some of these names that the market has bid up? Are you comfortable with those valuations given what you just said?
Because we've obviously had a very strong run up. Now, we've also had a pullback since the start of the year. So I think that pullback has actually shown that the market is pricing in those concerns. I do think that we need to have more clarity before we're going to see any further increases in valuations, before we see any strong rally higher. Longer term, I'm still bullish on the sector. I think short term, there is a potential for there to be more choppiness as we wait for those points to be clarified.